we don't really do a lot, but we have a great indie film to talk about. It's called Booger. Yeah.
Something tells me this is going to be a pick to discuss.
We definitely did pick it. So, of course, we picked it, and we have to talk about it. Let's talk about Booger.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm keeping my hands to myself here, okay? And I'm Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
And I'm allergic to cats. And I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us, and thanks for watching. For our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Now that we can support the show, join our Patreon, of course. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. And today we're talking about a film that hit like 15 film festivals before it finally got distribution. It's Don't Pick Your... What's going on?
So, following her best friend's death, Anna's focus shifts to Booger, the stray cat they took in together. When Booger bites her and runs off, she begins experiencing a very physical transformation.
So going into this I didn't watch the trailer. I was thinking maybe this would be something like a mixture of Cronenberg's Rapid, where everybody gets a disease that turns them into animals, animalistic behavior, and something like a mixture like William Hurt, Altered States, kind of like a blending of that. Not necessarily we get this. We get more of this slow, kind of almost comedic way about grief with a stray cat involved.
Yeah, I kept thinking it was going to be something along the lines of like the horror film Strays or the Italian horror film The Black Cat from I think the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking it was going to be one of those kinds of things, Cronenbergian in some ways. Yeah. And it's very obvious that the film is not of a large budget.
No, and I have to divorce myself that's not what we're getting. We're getting something of their own interpretation. There's judgment.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of problems with people critiquing the movie they want instead of critiquing the movie they have.
And I have to understand.
And thankfully, I think as critics, as people who have seen enough movies, we've both gotten used to the fact of like, that was what I was thinking it would be. Wash that off. Let's start the movie as it is.
So it's a debut from Mary Moderman. This is her debut film, starring Grace Glowicki. I hope you're saying your name right. Who doesn't carry a lot of the weight for this. Does fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything before this.
No.
Yeah, and her character Anna is grieving her roommate death of Izzy, a surprise death of an accident, hit by a car with a bike. Izzy picked up this cat, and the attachment of the cat is also coinciding with the grieving of Izzy's death.
Yeah. And I think what you've got here is you have a movie that is using we've talked about it just recently actually, my trauma is manifesting itself as this cat body horror film, because Booger bites her, he runs away, she's looking for him, and as she is transforming into some variation of a cat creature.
Yeah, what I think was the most effective thing about this movie, when the thing is that it's the most dangerous thing about grief, is grief, when especially for your own self, feels like you have if somebody said it, you have the monopoly over it. Mm-hmm. You are the control of it. You have the most grief, you win. Mm-hmm. Anybody kind of shows a little bit of grief, no, you shut you down, because you're not grieving the same way I'm grieving.
Yep. And
then you grieve even more. And it's kind of this cycle that she's participating that I like portrayed. Her friends help her out, and their other friend, like, you don't miss her as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's effective. I don't think I've ever seen grief played out this way. That's another tool that we see.
Yeah. I think the movie's non-genre trappings are the best part about the movie. Because I think this is definitely a movie, and I don't know Mary Dodderman, but this is definitely a movie that feels to me like a cat body horror film written by a person who's never owned a cat. Because it is so heavily focused on the grossest things. It's heavily focused on let's Google what are things that cats do and then kind of make that the case. You know, there's so much in the film that is on the idea of her getting hairballs. I don't know about other people. My cats have never been regular hairball creatures where it's all they do all the time.
Right. I thought it would be more play upon, and hopefully you've seen this movie, that she's hallucinating these things as well, not to deal with the grief, that she's... it's a psycho now, you know, she's making herself sick.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure, is the film going to do the werecat thing where she's turning into a cat people, or is the film just merely going to be she's transforming into a beast in some way? And I don't feel like there's ever really a distinction on what the director wants to do with it.
I thought maybe this character was making herself sick, believing this, where it's not really happening, rather than this cat that my friend really loved hates me.
Yeah.
maybe I can mend this relationship, then I can move on from my grief. And that's how I took this movie.
Yeah.
But I think that's what really happens, and this is one of the minus, it's collapse on its own weight in the third act.
Yeah, I think, and for a film that's 78 minutes, I feel like it did feel very long. It did feel very much like it wasn't moving itself forward. And I appreciated the Anna and Izzy relationship seen entirely through the flashbacks.
Totally
and phone
authentic.
videos.
I loved it. It's very fresh new horror of these exchanging phone videos that we understand now.
Yeah. But I think every time it cuts back to she's growing a little bit of fur. She's getting a little bit of night-like sight. She's getting a little bit of hairball again. I just feel like it needed to be pushed into drive. This was a film that was in neutral on what it wanted to do with its body horror.
Especially the script, I could see that.
And I think it definitely needed to drive. Like, this is,
give
me the cat body horror.
That's what I'm telling
you. Know?
Go there.
Yeah.
Go full cat. Go, like cat people with Paul Schrader. Do it. Yeah.
Or even, American Werewolf in London is very much a werewolf movie about grief, too, because he's dealing with the death of his own friend that has been visiting him the entire film. This movie feels like it could have been an American Werewolf in London style of film, but again, it just doesn't, it never pushes itself to being what the film promises with
I absolutely agree. It needed to challenge itself from the idea.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of using the cat was just a vessel of a mixture of a metaphor for the central thing of grief. Mm-hmm. But push it that she wants to be a cat so she doesn't have to be a human anymore. She doesn't want to be human.
Yeah.
Or push it that she's scared to be cat because she doesn't like it. Something about that mixture that we just don't get. It kind of almost goes like a vapor at the end.
Yeah, it very much feels like the film doesn't want to be a cat horror movie.
Right,
like it wants to be something bigger than that. But here's the thing, you are. And you're selling it as that. I mean, you literally named the movie Booger. You gave us a cat name, but like it's a silly name.
Yeah.
If you wanted this film to be more serious about grief, then you would have given the cat name maybe something a little bit less stupid.
Right, but it spends times on a little bit of wasted things. I understand exterior shots, but there's a shot of her having a conversation with a guy before they go back to the bar. Totally unnecessary. You could just start it at the bar.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I understand fresh when you debut that you're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But, my big thing is, especially for the story, push yourself.
Yeah.
Go there that you don't really comfortable doing. And you're talking about a topic that's really awkward.
Well, and you're talking about a film that we haven't seen in this way. If you want to make comparisons to things like Cat People or Werewolf Cinema, sure. Yeah. But we don't get a lot of those in film. So, like, you can go the extra mile. You can hire a really great makeup artist and make those sequences really pop, even if they're dreams, even if they're nightmares. But give us something at the end of the day, because I feel like it's kind of skirting around body horror. But it's not.
Right.
The finished film is not really body horror.
If you're going to go Kafka, where everything is crap, but it's going to get worse, then do it.
Yeah, I want to see catamorphosis.
Yeah, if it's going to start out bad and go to worse, then really show us the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my critique. I think there's a lot of plenty positive reviews. I understand them. But, I just don't think it's a challenge script. I understand the challenges of making a movie, and you match them. That's what I think is effective, is you really worked on the navigation of grief and how people don't do it healthy. If they don't, when you don't do it healthy, you want to become a different thing. You want to work on the becoming a cat.
Yeah. And I think the movie doesn't drive itself forward with narrative, and I think that becomes the detriment of not moving the characters forward. And it's even not moving the characters in a bad direction. It's kind of just her just kind of stuck in this rut, which is not something that's altogether appealing for a film.
No, but if you're going to talk about being trapped, being trapped in the environment that you don't want to go out because you really look like a freaking cat.
Yeah. That would freak me out.
Yeah. So, overall, it's a good subject. It's a good. I like the environment of a kind of almost homemade. I like how they talk about grief, but really, it feels like a stagnated script.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie I can't recommend because I think that the ideas that it's giving out on the forefront, it's not following through on those. Right.
And I don't know if I'm going to remember if I watched this movie. I'm like, because of the title. Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, thank God for Letterboxd, because I probably would have forgotten I'd seen it. It's disappointing because, like, you had me. You had me.
I know, right?
Stuff,
for the first 30 minutes, you had me, and then.
Yeah, just unfortunately, just could not get across the finish line.
Yeah,
this car died partway through. So
right, I agree. God, we're agreeing a lot this week. This is scary.
Yeah.
God, this is just scary. So, what do you think of our assessment of Booger?
Yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And give us your cat names. Give us all the cat names that you have, all the pets in your life. We'd love to hear about them. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Kyle and Nick on Film, where we talk about cat body horror and also dramatic Pope films. We're just doing everything on this channel. So thank you for joining us. And you can find all of my film reviews, including more content about Booger, because I have a lot to say about that film, over at goatfilmreviews.com.
Oh, you're going to continue in your research?
I have some more things that just keep popping up in my head as I think about this movie.
Okay. And you can find my show, St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts. Thanks for watching.